working on the teardown of this electric organ. Yeah, I've only just taken the top off of this. Really know nothing about music or piano keys as such, but it's got foot levers there, like a twin level keys, and then all the electronic stuff in here, like the just got some block connectors, iron core transformer, rectification, smoothing, main control board. Here would be the boards for adding effects to it, different sound effects to it, and a board similar to this would be just under there, the volume and tempo. These be amplifiers. I'll take a look at the data sheet for that code if I can find it. So the transistors made by Motorola are actually BJT transistors in a Darlington configuration. None of this MOSFET stuff. BJTs. All the win back then. I'd say this is late 1970s, early 80s technology. No digital displays, nothing, just rocker switches, slider switches, iron core transformer, some rectification, BJTs, really orange, old looking boards. Pat tested 2015, July 2015. What's this? Model Odeon Viscount electronic organ. 40 watts. It's only a 40 watt amplifier in here, so yeah, I won't expect too much out of it. As far as I can tell, quite a cheap product. The back was just MDF board. This isn't real wood. This is most likely something like this. Yeah, this is the typical construction of like them speakers that you find, and wooden speakers from in cheapo stereo systems. Of course, yeah, this would be made of wood for resonance due to a speaker in there, and yeah. You got the contactors for the foot switches. You got a random sticker that's fallen in there at one point. A foot pedal there. It's a gigantic speaker here, massive. Boy, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd be really excited to get that out when it's time. In fact, I might even take it out right now. As you can see, there's multiple switches to the foot levers. Foot pedal there, you got a conduit, well, some cable management going up through a hole there, and coming up through there, entering in the main board. So yeah, I would assume that these are the amplifiers. Now I'll just go ahead, remove these plates off now. Well, it's been quite a long time. I've removed the top and bottom keyboards, or custom made PCBs. Well, not even PCBs, just CBs essentially. Yeah, all these switches is just, you see that little metal wire there, for example that one, I press that key in, just basically makes contact with that bus bar. In doing so, just completes the circuit to the corresponding wire essentially, and they're all commoned. So due to the fact that it's commoned, they've been able to half the amount of wires that come out of there, and that will go to the main board. This is just the main board, and it's like bowed for some reason. Don't know if it was designed like that, manufacturing defect. That's a bowed board. I'm sure it would still work. The person that gave this away said it still worked and it was in functioning condition. And I had to take it apart. What a shame. And talking about the age of this machine, the inspection certificate, you know. 23rd of March 1982, model Odeon, serial number 2-something-23, I'd say 2123, and it's somebody Lambert, what a strange surname. I'm not one to judge surnames, am I? Considering I'm adoptive and I have 2 surnames. Yeah. Pedal volumes, pedal things. Pedal. What's that? 2 metal bolts under there. Oh! I can only guess that they are banana audio jacks or just audio jacks. They're massive audio jacks that they had obviously over 40 years ago when this was built. Yeah. So you could record audio from it. And possibly even went to a external speaker. I really didn't look into the functions of this. I just looked at what was on the actual front of this and nothing else. I think it's got a tempo in it. Tempo around here. I'll get the tempo board. It's got, you can get beats, got a built-in metronome, electronic metronome. Solid state, obviously. I'd say it's by 555 chip, somewhere here. Yeah, that faceplate's covering 55% of it, but or it's just a custom-made chip that is made for the mass production of this machine. You can see it's not an actual wooden finish or metal wooden finish, it's just plastic, literally. I'd say this is made of Bakelite. Now, the cellular memory function obviously has some memory chips on this board somewhere, or on the main board. ROM chips. The traces. You see it's got bits of solder, rosin and flux all over it, and I can see the haze of a lead solder in this. And also this was literally these solder traces curvy because this was literally made by human. This wasn't printed. So as a result you've just got all these curves, and PCBs, printed circuit boards, have long lines and great calculating how to maximize space on these boards, etc. I'm sure the majority of you already know that these days PCB manufacturing, software mandated, they all have calculations for calculating for example the next degree move that the a specific trace is going to turn, and they'll also do room calculating to maximize space on your board. Yeah, I'm sure they did space calculating on this board, lots of geometry manually with a calculator and with lots of measuring equipment, ergonomic tape measures, rulers possibly, like used in schools. Wouldn't need a reason to use a tape measure in this, being so small. And the software additionally that's calculating all this geometry and maximizing space in the PCB is also calculating trace sizes, thicknesses for handling different currents, trace and isolation depending on if it's a high or low voltage. Yeah. So this PCB is just Bakelite based essentially, which is a it does include formaldehyde in its chemical makeup. Bakelite, literally polyoxybenzomethylene choline hydride. Say that once you've had 20 shots or so of vodka. And these capacitors, they seem to have a bizarre obsession with capacitors that have one lead in the bottom, other lead coming out the top. I don't know if that's just stock reasons, access reasons, just use what you have, or if there is an actual purpose for that, which I really don't think is so. These days, mass-produced capacitors like Capson just use 2 leads coming out the bottom. The old days, they seem to tend to be using leads coming out the top and the bottom. See no reason. Probably just the era's style, considering this is precisely 40 years old. In fact, I was actually expecting this style of traces being in something expected to be this old. Their estimate of late 70s, early 80s was bang on. Early 80s, precisely 1982, which you saw. And here, the power supply board, I'll take the liberty of removing soon. So here's just an iron core transformer. Yeah, you've got your 240 entering into it. Because, yeah, this is England, we use 240 volts AC at 50 hertz. We don't use 120 or 110. So yeah, 240 AC going into this iron core transformer, step down transformer. Possibly steps it down to 24 or 12 volts, most likely 12 volts. Then sends it through a fuse, a glass fuse, then through a rectifier. And there's obviously a full bridge rectifier for corresponding fuse. Then that would be smoothed by these smoothing capacitors and then sent off to the operating circuitry within here. These 4 bipolar junction transistors in a Darlington configuration are, I would say, part of the amplifier. And this part here, I'd say, is transistor driving circuitry, like driving the base. Base collector and emitter. Then it would just simply output to the main board, which is this device here, which I've already shown. Had a talk about these traces. Oh, I got presets and potentiometers on here as well. Little transistor, made in the Philippines. A ROM chip somewhere on here. Yeah, I haven't really been that much into computer engineering, so I wouldn't know how to recognize a ROM chip until I learn, basically. I'd say one of these things in the sockets are part of the read-only memory. One of 3 of those big ICs made by mandates software and all these songs on it. Not songs, just the audio. Look at this resistor, look how it's wired on. And normally resistors are obviously raised up off the board for thermal reasons, cooling. In this case, I'd say that their objectives were to basically coil the leads. So essentially, raised off the board, what you said, but no, wouldn't fit, so they just jammed it in. Look at all this, bent leads. Oh my god, damn. And this was obviously made in England. Made in England, not quite mass production as we know it. From China and Japan these days. But, yeah. I'm still confused why it's bending like that. Probably just warped over time from heat. Well, not super high temperatures, but a fair amount of heat possibly. Probably have to just look up the chemical structure for Bakelite, which was used in this paper / Bakelite. Why wouldn't this just focus? Yeah, paper / Bakelite. Here specifically, there's no CMOS here. Complementary metal oxide semiconductors, all just bipolar junction transistors. And if these were CMOS, those wouldn't need to be mounted on such a large heatsink that's like raised up from the actual MDF board or whatever board that's called for airflow. No, it'd be much more efficient and possibly even last much longer than bipolar junction transistors. And down here, I love it. I absolutely love it. Sarcasm. So dusty in this old wooden box, essentially. So what we have is the orifice where the speaker was. I already removed the speaker off camera. We've got the main contactors. Well, not the main contactors. The switches for the foot pedals, which would be there. And you've also got the foot switch. A couple of resistors in there. So I've decided it's good if I make a dedicated video clip of this foot pedal. It's basically a rheostat in there, which has a resistance from 300 to 600 ohms, and basically when it's changed, when it's pushed forward or backwards, the resistance will change and it will communicate with the interface in the main board. Obviously it will detect changes in resistance and in doing so respond with a signal going to the amplifier chip, changing the sound effects of it or the tone effects. These two resistors are basically to set a resistance reference for the actual chip. So when the chip is purchased and it's installed into the circuit boards, the manufacturer will recommend a baseline resistance reference, which is in the form of this grey, red, black, gold resistors. So a tolerance of plus minus 5% each, 82 ohms of resistance each. And that is so. Doing something which would be on the front there. This is all that's left of the entire unit. I've taken all the guts, including this. I'm going to take upstairs, completely stripped down to the bare wood. Quite a shame, because this was perfectly working, but then again, cheapo. This wooden frame's going to be scrapped. Plus this has a classic smell of them. Old organs smell like this. Well, old electric organs specifically smell like this. My one upstairs does as well, but my one upstairs is much larger than this and much more high tech. And even has its own huge tone cabinet, larger than that chest freezer in the corner of my bedroom. So yeah, lovely find.